When my daughter told me I had 48 hours to leave the home I'd shared with my husband for 30 years, I collapsed right there in the lawyer's office. 3 days later, I was sleeping in my car outside the country club where her engagement party was being held. That's when I realized life isn't just a game of chess, it's one where your own pawns can become your executioners. If you're watching this, hit subscribe and tell me where you're from. Because trust me, this story twists more than a tornado in Texas, and you'll want to be here for every shocking turn. My name is Helena, and until my husband Ricardo's funeral last month, I thought I knew what my life was. I was the devoted wife of a successful businessman. The mother of Mariana, my beautiful daughter who I'd raised with every advantage. The mistress of a sprawling suburban home filled with memories and security. All gone in a single afternoon. The day of the will reading was unseasonably cold. I remember shivering despite my black wool coat as I entered Mr. Donovan's law office. Mariana was already there, her eyes red but her posture rigid. We hadn't spoken much since the funeral. Grief affects everyone differently, I told myself. I should have recognized the warning signs. The way she barely acknowledged me. How she'd positioned herself next to Mr. Donovan rather than beside me. The slight curl of satisfaction at the corner of her lips when the lawyer opened the leather portfolio containing Ricardo's last wishes. Mrs. Alvarez, Mr. Donovan began, his voice clinically detached. I regret to inform you that your husband's estate planning is unconventional. I nodded, numb. Ricardo had always handled our finances. In 30 years of marriage, I'd never questioned his decisions. Why would I start now? The primary residence and the majority of liquid assets have been bequeathed to Miss Mariana Alvarez, he continued. I blinked, waiting for the rest. Waiting for my portion. For the provision that would ensure I remained in our home, that I would be taken care of as Ricardo had always promised. The silence stretched. Mr. Donovan shuffled papers. And I finally asked, my voice small. That's it, Mrs. Alvarez. There are no further provisions for you specifically. Script part separator ===. That's it. I stared at Mr. Donovan. 30 years of marriage summarized in, that's it. There must be some mistake, I whispered. No mistake, Mother. Mariana's voice sliced through my shock. Dad made his wishes perfectly clear. I turned to face my daughter. The coldness in her eyes was foreign to me, or had it always been there, hidden behind the mask of a dutiful daughter? Mariana, this is our home. Where am I supposed to go? She shrugged, examining her manicure. You have 2 days to collect your personal belongings. I'm having the locks changed on Monday. My heart hammered against my ribs. 2 days. Mariana, I'm your mother. And he was my father. Her voice hardened. A father who worked himself to death while you spent his money. Did you think I didn't notice? The shopping trips? The lunches? What did you ever contribute? Each accusation landed like a physical blow. I'd managed our household for decades. Supported Ricardo through the lean years when his business was struggling. Raised our daughter. Was that nothing? Mr. Donovan cleared his throat. Perhaps a temporary arrangement could. The will is clear, Mariana cut him off. Mother needs to respect Dad's wishes. I looked to the lawyer, desperate for an ally. Is this legal? Can she just throw me out? His eyes flickered with something. Discomfort? Pity. But he merely adjusted his glasses and said, the house is legally Miss Alvarez's property now. I would suggest consulting your own attorney. My own attorney. With what money? I'd never maintained separate accounts. Everything had been joint or in Ricardo's name, a traditional arrangement I'd never questioned. I'll need my car at least, I said, fighting to keep my voice steady. Mariana smiled thinly. The Mercedes is mine too. You can have the old Honda, though technically, that's also part of the estate. I left the office in a daze, clutching my purse like a life preserver. How had I not seen this coming? Had Ricardo planned this betrayal, or had Mariana somehow manipulated things after his death? Either way, I had 48 hours to salvage what I could from the ruins of my life. Script part separator The old Honda. A 12-year-old sedan that Ricardo kept meaning to donate. That's what 30 years of marriage had earned me. I drove home, no, not home anymore, to the house in a fog. Each familiar landmark seemed to mock me. The bakery where I ordered Ricardo's birthday cakes. The florist who knew my preferences by heart. The neighbors who waved, unaware that I was now homeless. When I pulled into the driveway, I noticed Mariana's BMW already there. She'd beaten me home, probably to ensure I didn't take anything valuable. As if I were a thief rather than the woman who had chosen every piece of furniture, every artwork, every plant in that house. I found her in Ricardo's study, rifling through his desk drawers. I need to start somewhere, I said, standing in the doorway. What am I allowed to take? She barely looked up. Your clothes. Personal items. Nothing that has significant value. The photo albums. Dad's family history stays with the family. She cut me off. I felt something crack inside me. I am your family, Mariana. Finally, she looked at me, her eyes cold as river stones. Are you? Because Dad told me things before he died. Things about you that made me wonder. My stomach clenched. What things? She just smiled that new smile, the one I'd never seen before the funeral. 2 days, Mother. Clock's ticking. That night, I sat on my husband's, bed, surrounded by 30 years of accumulated life. How do you pack a marriage into a few suitcases? Which memories do you take? Which do you leave behind? I reached for the phone to call my sister, then remembered she'd died 3 years ago. My parents were long gone. Ricardo had been my world, and I'd allowed my social circle to shrink to his business associates and their wives, none of whom had reached out since the funeral. For the first time, I saw my isolation as if from a great height, and it terrified me. Script part separator, I started with my clothes, mechanically filling suitcases. Designer dresses Ricardo had bought me. Shoes I'd worn to charity galas. A lifetime curated for a woman who no longer existed. At the back of my closet, I found the lockbox. The one place Ricardo had never questioned. Inside, my grandmother's modest jewelry, old birthday cards, and, thank God, my birth certificate and social security card. At least I still had my identity, even if everything else was gone. As dawn broke, I heard Mariana on the phone in the hallway. Yes, the estate sale company is coming next week. No, she'll be gone by then. Mother won't be a problem. A problem. That's what I'd become to my own daughter. I waited until she left for her morning run before slipping into Ricardo's study one last time. Something wasn't adding up. Ricardo had always promised he'd take care of me. Had he changed the will recently? Was he angry with me for some reason? His computer was password protected, but I tried the combination we'd used for years, our anniversary date. Nothing. I tried Mariana's birthday. Nothing. In desperation, I tried the date of his first business success, and I was in. Emails loaded on the screen. Thousands of them. I searched my name and found surprisingly little. But when I searched for will and testament, I discovered emails from 6 months ago to a different lawyer, not Donovan. Changes complete as requested. The updated provisions for Mrs. Alvarez are secured. Updated provisions? What provisions? The sound of the front door closing sent me scrambling. I quickly logged out and slipped from the study, questions multiplying in my mind. That afternoon, as I loaded the last of my permitted belongings into the Honda, Mariana watched from the doorway, arms crossed. I always thought you loved him, she said suddenly. I did love him. With everything I had. Then why did you betray him? The accusation hung in the air between us. I never betrayed Ricardo, I said, my voice steady despite my racing heart. She laughed, a sharp, bitter sound. He knew, Mother. Before he died, he knew everything. Script part separator, Knew what? I demanded, stepping toward her. Mariana backed away as if I might contaminate her. He knew about the money, she spat. About what you were hiding. I genuinely had no idea what she meant, but a chill ran through me. Something was very wrong here. Ricardo and I had never kept financial secrets, at least, I hadn't. But his urgent emails to another lawyer suggested otherwise. Don't play innocent, she continued. Dad showed me the bank statements. What bank statements? She rolled her eyes. The secret account. In Brazil. Did you think he wouldn't find it? Brazil. I'd never had an account in Brazil. I'd never even been to Brazil. But arguing would get me nowhere. Mariana had clearly made up her mind about me. I need a place to stay tonight, I said, changing tactics. Just one night while I figure things out. The Motel 6, off Highway 20, is cheap, she replied without hesitation. And that was it. 30 years of love and sacrifice dismissed with directions to a budget motel. I got into the Honda with my few possessions and drove away from the only real home I'd known since my 20s. That first night in the motel was the longest of my life. I counted my cash, $287. My credit cards were joint accounts with Ricardo, likely already frozen. I had no income, no prospects, and apparently, a daughter who believed I was a thief. As I lay on the scratchy bedspread, staring at water stains on the ceiling, I realized I had two choices: curl up and disappear, or fight back. The woman I'd been for 30 years wanted to choose the former. But something new was awakening in me, something with teeth. The next morning, I spotted the announcement in the local paper. Alvarez family celebrates engagement. Mariana Alvarez and Thomas Whitfield to host reception at Oakwood Country Club. My daughter was throwing an engagement party 3 weeks after her father's funeral. And I hadn't even known she was seeing someone seriously. That's when the first piece clicked into place. Thomas Whitfield, son of Gerald Whitfield, Ricardo's biggest competitor. Script part separator. I needed answers, and fast. With my dwindling cash, I found an internet cafe and researched Thomas Whitfield. Harvard Business School. Vice president at Whitfield Enterprises. The company that had been Ricardo's nemesis for decades. The pieces were starting to form a pattern, but I couldn't quite see the full picture. I drove to the bank where Ricardo and I had maintained our accounts for 20 years. Mrs. Alvarez, the manager, greeted me with obvious discomfort. I was going to call you. Your accounts have been restricted. By whom? The executor of Mr. Alvarez's estate. Your daughter provided the death certificate and will documentation. Of course she had. James, I leaned forward. I've banked here since before you started. Did Ricardo ever mention anything about Brazil? An account there. He shifted nervously. I'm not at liberty to. I'm not asking for details. Just yes or no. After a long pause, he nodded almost imperceptibly. I felt dizzy. And was my name on this account? Mrs. Alvarez, please. Was my name on it? No, he finally whispered. It was under a business entity. Novo Começo Holdings. New Beginning Holdings. In Portuguese. The language of Brazil. Thank you, I said, rising. One more thing. The lawyer who handled Ricardo's will, was it always Donovan? James frowned. No, for years it was Feinberg at Cooper and Feinberg. The change was recent. Within the last year. As I drove away, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. I was your husband's personal assistant for 5 years. We need to talk. Meet me at West Side Coffee. 2 p.m. I checked the time, 1:30. I had never met Ricardo's assistant. He worked from the downtown office while I maintained my separate life in the suburbs. Why reach out now? It could be a trap. Or it could be the first real lead to understanding what had happened to my life. I decided to take the risk. Script part separator. The coffee shop was tucked between a laundromat and a vape store in a strip mall I'd never visited. I arrived 10 minutes early, scanning faces, wondering if I'd recognize Ricardo's assistant from company photos. A slender woman with sharp eyes approached my table. Mrs. Alvarez? Her voice was low, cautious. Call me Helena. You're Sophie Turner. I was your husband's executive assistant until 3 months ago when I was abruptly terminated. She sat, glancing nervously toward the door. I don't have much time. They're watching me. Who's watching you? She ignored my question. Your husband was murdered, Mrs. Alvarez. The words hit me like a physical blow. What? Ricardo had a heart attack. That's what everyone was told. She slid a thumb drive across the table. This contains emails, financial records, and voice memos your husband recorded. He suspected someone was poisoning him slowly. My hands trembled. Poisoning? That's impossible. 6 months ago, Ricardo discovered irregularities in the company accounts. Money flowing to shell corporations in Brazil. When he started investigating, he began experiencing symptoms. Dizziness, confusion, hair loss. Those were side effects from his blood pressure medication, I said automatically. That's what the doctor said, a doctor recommended by Mariana. I felt sick. You're suggesting my daughter. I'm not suggesting anything. I'm telling you what Ricardo believed. She checked her watch. The Whitfield merger was Ricardo's nightmare. He would have never approved it. What merger? It's happening next month. Alvarez Industries is being absorbed by Whitfield Enterprises. The announcement is coming after your daughter's engagement party. Sophie stood abruptly. Samuel's here. E quem te sim wifiu. She hurried toward the back exit, calling over her shoulder, trust no one. Especially not Donovan. Find Feinberg. Through the front window, he saw a black sedan pulling up. A man in a dark suit emerged, scanning the coffee shop. I clutched the thumb drive and slipped out the side door, my mind reeling with impossible accusations. My husband murdered? My daughter involved? A corporate tá que eu ver? What had Ricardo gotten himself into? And more importantly, what had I been blind to all these years? Script part separator, The sound of tires crashing outside propelled me back to my car. With trembling hands, I drove to a public library, the only place I could think of to safely view the thumb drive. Every click through Ricardo's secret files felt like stepping deeper into someone else's life. Financial transfers to Brazilian accounts. Emails discussing the Helena situation between Ricardo and a contact labeled only as JF. Voice memos where my husband, voice weak and suspicious, documented his declining health and his fears. Helena must never know the danger, his voice rasped in one recording dated just weeks before his death. If anything happens to me, the second will is with Feinberg. De real one. Mariana is not who she appears to be. My daughter's name in his dying words, not with love, but with warning. I printed key documents and drove straight to Cooper and Feinberg. De recepcionistas às videnedo and gave my name. Mr. Alvarez. We've been trying to reach you since Mr. Alvarez's passing, but your number was disconnected. My phone. I realized Mariana must have cancelled my service. Another tragedy. Minutes later, I sat across from Abraham Feinberg, a grandfatherly man with kind eyes. Helena, he said gravely, Ricardo came to me 6 months ago, deeply troubled. He discovered financial irregularities and suspected corporate espionage. But worse, he believed someone close to him was involved. Mariana? Evisperid. He couldn't be certain. But he changed his will as a precaution, leaving everything in a protected trust for you. Only you. He pulled out a document. This is the legal will, executed properly with witnesses. But Donovan had a different will. A forgery, Feinberg said firmly. The signature dates overlap with Ricardo's hospital stay. He physically couldn't have signed it. My hand suas e accepted de genuine document. Why didn't you come forward? We tried. Your phone was disconnected. Our emails bounced back. When we sent a courier to your home, he was turned away. Someone went to great lengths to isolate you. Script part separator, I left Feinberg's office with Ricardo's real will in my purse and a storm brewing inside me. The truth was becoming clearer and more terrifying by the minute. My daughter had orchestrated not just my disinheritance, but potentially my husband's murder, all to facilitate a corporate merger that Ricardo had opposed his entire career. The question was, what to do about it? I checked into a different motel using cash, paranoia making me glance over my shoulder at every turn. Someone had tried to isolate me, to cut me off from resources and information. Someone had succeeded. Until now. I spent the night reading through Ricardo's secret files again and again, piecing together the puzzle. The merger would make the Whitfields and their key allies, including Mariana, obscenely wealthy. Ricardo had discovered evidence of insider trading, market manipulation, and worse. His own company was being hollowed out from within, and when he started asking questions, he became a liability. A liability that needed to be eliminated. But Ricardo had been clever. He'd created a digital trail, secured a proper will, and entrusted it all to people outside the conspiracy. He just hadn't counted on how quickly they would move against me once he was gone. My phone buzzed, a text from Sophie. They know we met. Not safe. Vitfiel de security came to my apartment. My heart raced. How had they found Sophie so quickly? Were they watching me too? Another test came through. Engagement party tomorrow night. All board members attending. Only chance to stop merger. The engagement party. The perfect opportunity to confront everyone at once. But also incredibly dangerous. I needed leverage, something more concrete than Ricardo's suspicions. That's when I remembered Ricardo's personal laptop. The one he kept at home, separate from his work computer. I packed it without thinking, assuming it was mine to take. What if it contained more evidence? Script part separator ===. I found Ricardo's laptop tucked between my clothes in one of the suitcases. Password protected, of course. I tried our anniversary again, then Mariana's birthday. Nothing. I stared at the login screen, thinking. What was important to Ricardo? What secret code would he choose? On a hunch, I typed Novo Comico, the name of his Brazilian shell company. Descriam looked. What found made my blind RAM code. Photos of Mariana meeting with Gerald Whitfield dating back 3 years. Financial records showing millions transferred to offshore accounts. And most damning, a chemical analysis of Ricardo's blood work showing elevated levels of arsenic. My husband had been right. He was being poisoned. There was also a video file, date stamped 2 weeks before his death. I clicked play and Ricardo's gaunt face filled the screen. Helena, he whispered, his once robust voice now frail. If you're watching this, they succeeded in killing me. The merger cannot happen. Whitfield plans to strip the company, fire hundreds, and move operations overseas. The thumb drive in my safe contains everything the authorities need. He coughed violently. The passcode is the date we met. I'm sorry kept you in the dark. I thought I was protecting you. The safe. In his study. The Mariana had forbidden me to touch. I checked the time, 10 p.m. The engagement party was tomorrow night. The house would be empty while Mariana prepared at the country club. I had one chance to get into that safe. Dawn found me parked a block from my former home, watching as Mariana loaded garment bags into her BMW. Once she drove away, I counted to 100 before approaching the house. Script part separator ===. The spare key was still hidden in the fake rock by the garden. Mariana had always considered it beneath her to remember such details. Inside, the house felt foreign, as if it belonged to strangers. Family photos had been rearranged, with several of me conspicuously missing. I moved quickly to Ricardo's study. The safe was behind his grandfather's oil painting, a hiding place so obvious it had always amused me. The date we met, June 14, 1988. The safe clicked open. Inside lay a red thumb drive labeled evidence and a sealed envelope with my name. I pocketed both just as the front door opened. Hello. Is someone here? A male voice called out. I froze. Nowhere to hide. I heard footsteps approaching the study. Thomas Whitfield appeared in the doorway. Tall, blonde, with the easy confidence of old money. My daughter's fiancé, and possibly co-conspirator in my husband's murder. Mrs. Alvarez, he said, not looking particularly surprised. Mariana said you might try something like this. Thomas. I straightened, clutching my purse with the evidence inside. Congratulations on your engagement. Rather sudden, isn't it? He smiled coldly. Not really. Mariana and I have been together for years. Years. While my husband was alive. Business makes strange bedfellows, he shrugged. Speaking of business, I believe you have something that belongs to Alvarez Industries. My husband's murder evidence doesn't belong to anyone but the police, I replied, inching toward the door. His expression hardened. You should be careful making accusations, Mrs. Alvarez. Especially when you have so much to lose. I've already lost everything, I said. Which means I have nothing left to fear. Script part separator ===. Thomas stepped closer, blocking my path. Let's be reasonable, Mrs. Alvarez. Whatever you think you know, whatever Ricardo told you, he was confused at the end. Paranoid. The medical reports say he was poisoned, I countered. With arsenic. A flicker of something. Surprise? Concern. Crossed his face before his smooth mask returned. You have a choice here, he said softly. Cooperate, surrender whatever you've taken, and you'll be comfortable for the rest of your life. Fight us, and what? I challenged. You'll kill me too. He laughed, but his eyes remained cold. Don't be dramatic. We're business people, not murderers. Tell that to my husband. We stood in tense silence, measuring each other. I knew I couldn't physically overpower him, but I had something more powerful, the truth. The engagement party, I said suddenly. I'll bring everything there. Make the exchange publicly. His eyes narrowed. Why would we agree to that? Because if I don't show up, time-stamped copies of everything go to the FBI, the SEC, and the Wall Street Journal. I was bluffing, but he couldn't know that. After a long moment, he nodded. Fine. The party starts at 7. Come to the service entrance at 8. I'll be there, I promised, though we both knew I had no intention of surrendering anything. As I walked past him toward the door, he grabbed my arm. One more thing. Come alone, or Mariana will suffer the consequences. The threat sent ice through my veins. Despite everything, she was still my daughter. I smiled thinly. Funny. I was about to say the same thing to you. Once safely back in my car, I opened Ricardo's envelope with trembling hands. Inside was a key and a handwritten note. Helena, if you're reading this, trust only Feinberg. The key opens locker 247 at Central Station. Everything you need is there. I'm sorry I kept secrets. I was trying to protect you. All my love, R. Script part separator ===. I raced to Central Station, my mind spinning with possibilities. What could be so important that Ricardo would hide it in a public locker rather than his own safe? Locker 247 contained a weathered leather briefcase. Inside, photos, USB drives, and a thick manila folder labeled Whitfield Conspiracy. Ricardo had been busy during his final months, compiling evidence against not just the Whitfields, but their entire network, including bank statements showing Mariana had received over $2 million in consulting fees. My daughter had sold out her father for money. The realization crushed whatever remaining hope I'd harbored that she was somehow innocent in all this. I drove straight to Feinberg's office. The elderly lawyer examined Ricardo's evidence with increasing alarm. This is enough to stop the merger and trigger federal investigations, he said finally. But Helena, these people are dangerous. If they've already killed once. I know the risks, I interrupted. But I need to confront Mariana myself. I need to hear her admit what she's done. That's exactly what they're expecting, Feinberg warned. The engagement party is a trap. Then we'll set our own trap, I said, an idea forming. Can you contact the FBI without tipping off the Whitfields? By sunset, we had a plan. Feinberg would deliver copies of the evidence to federal authorities while I attended the engagement party, wired and under surveillance. The FBI needed recorded confessions to strengthen their case. As I prepared in my motel room, I opened the last file from Ricardo's briefcase, a personal letter to me. My dearest Helena, it began. By now you know the truth. I kept you away from the business not because I didn't value you, but because I saw the corruption taking root and wanted to protect you. I never imagined our own daughter would be turned against us. When confronted, Mariana told me you were expendable. Collateral damage, in her exact words. Know that I fought for you until my last breath. The house, our life together, it was always meant for you. Tears streamed down my face as I finished reading. The Ricardo I'd known and loved had been there all along, fighting a battle I never knew existed. I dressed carefully in a simple black dress, funeral attire for a marriage that was already dead. The Oakwood Country Club gleamed with wealth and privilege as I approached the service entrance. An FBI agent disguised as a waiter nodded imperceptibly as I passed. The wire beneath my dress felt like an accusation against my skin. Through kitchen doors, I could see the celebration in full swing. Mariana radiant in white, Thomas commanding the room, champagne flowing as board members and society elites mingled. My daughter's perfect night. The merger's crowning achievement. I took a deep breath and stepped into the light. The room didn't fall silent dramatically like in movies. Instead, awareness of my presence spread like ripples in a pond. Conversations faltered. Glasses paused mid-toast. Mariana saw me last, her smile freezing as our eyes locked. "Mother," she hissed, hurrying over. "You weren't invited." "I invited myself," I replied, voice steady. "To congratulate my daughter on betraying her father." Thomas appeared at her side. "Mrs. Alvarez, let's discuss this privately." "Let's not," I said loudly. "I think the board members would be interested in exactly how this merger came about, and how Ricardo Alvarez really died." The room fell silent then. "She's delusional," Mariana announced. Grief-stricken and confused. I smiled. "The FBI agents surrounding this building don't think so. Neither does the evidence Ricardo compiled before you poisoned him." Thomas lunged for me, but security, FBI agents, restrained him instantly. As federal officers flooded the room, I faced my daughter one final time. "Why, Mariana? He loved you." Her beautiful face twisted with contempt. "Love doesn't build empires." 6 months later, I sat across from Mr. Donovan, the same lawyer who had laughed at my distress that first terrible day. He wasn't laughing now. "The criminal cases against Mariana and the Whitfields are proceeding," he reported stiffly. "As the sole legal heir to Ricardo's estate, you now control Alvarez Industries." "And the house?" I asked, though I already knew. "Yours, as it always should have been." I thanked him and walked out into the sunshine, touching the locket containing Ricardo's final note. Some say revenge is sweet. But justice tastes like coming home.